everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Autistic Voice Project. As always, I am Matt Lowry, coming to you from the Louisville area.
That's right. And I'm Erin Findlay, coming to you from Napa, California.
And we have our returning guest, Maisie. Oh God! Now I'm very self-conscious. Oh God! Soetantyo. Yes. And last week, for in case you didn't know, podcasts are not live. Who knew? And the people who are listening to this are sometime in the future, either sometime in 2026 or after the Robot Wars. And in any case, they're still on the edges of their seats because they presumably listened to last episode before this. If you're listening to this episode now, you're doing it wrong. Listen to the previous episode and then now. Otherwise, it's going back in
Otherwise,
time.
You'll be confused.
Yes. Even more confusing than the explanation I just gave. So, so Maisie, tell us all about, because you have just had a setup of how you were trained by Ivar Lovaas in ABA. You saw that it was destructive to autistic children. You produced autistic children, and then you said, hold on, I think I got a touch of that tism myself. Let's rethink everything. So tell us about this, because not only do you have to do things in an incredibly different way, but we also now talk about autism throughout the lifespan instead of just training children to blend into a school that they collapse from after school. And they don't have these life skills to navigate the world when there isn't an adult specifically prompting them to comply with the adult's commands throughout their life. So lay it all out on here on us there, worth words that I said. Tell us about the things.
Well, parenting. No one really taught us how to parent.
No,
right?
I mean, especially
no
autistically.
One, right. I was lucky that my mom had a minimally speaking younger sister with Down syndrome. So I think that's where I was a little bit unique, because I watched my mom and her siblings just radically accept this this human, and I think most parents don't have that example.
Yeah.
But I did. Still, once I have my own kids and realized that they were both neurodivergent, like there are 4 of us in the family, and all of us are neurodivergent, mixed neurotype, right? So I learned very quickly the reward system doesn't work. Didn't work for my kid. And we tried earlier, because when they were in school, of course, they were exposed to the reward token chart. That's everywhere.
Yeah,
that's everywhere in schools, right? My son learned very early on that being fidgety and laying on the floor during small group time, that was very much if he can't keep himself together, he was out sitting by himself. At 5 years old, he learned to mask.
Because that whole exclusion thing, if they say I am bad, I can't do circle time right. That's a hell of an internalization there.
Yeah. Very much.
And it lasts for the rest of their life.
Correct. Because he continued to need accommodations, because he was very sensitive to sounds and he was very distracted. He knew what I do for a living, and he still says, nope, I don't need a headset because I don't want to stand out. I don't have special needs. That actually came out. I don't want to stand out. I don't want people to think that I have special needs. So when people say, or people ask, can little kids mask? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that's the thing
and
because there's no bigger motivator than being embarrassed by your peers because
Yeah.
it's this horrifying form of normality. And
Mhm.
evolutionary speaking, it's there is a herd mentality sort of thing going on there that most of the time is very helpful because if nobody's eating the mushrooms, you should probably not eat the mushrooms. But, if there is an adventurous kid who says, but these mushrooms are really, really tasty, then you get an Anthony Bourdain, kind of person who says, perhaps we could do things differently because
right.
these are
Mhm.
some tasty mushrooms. But yeah, it's one of those things that people don't realize how hard it is to be a kid.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think every human being inherently we want to belong.
Of
Even if
course.
Yeah.
you are different, your wiring seeks acceptance and love, and respect from other people,
Yeah.
neurodivergent
Mhm.
or neurotypical.
Mhm.
And I think no one really talks how exclusion happens all the time
Yeah.
at home because parents are given wrong information.
Yeah.
They
Mhm.
were told that you need to parent this way,
Right.
otherwise you're a bad parent.
Yes.
now
Oh,
now
oh, the double exclusion. Oh dear.
right, so
Right.
I give talks all the time about inclusivity in school, blah blah blah, but people forget that
Yeah.
when your child is labeled as a neurodivergent person, they are being excluded a lot
Yeah.
at home, right?
And I guarantee you
uh
that at least a few of our listeners might be having that issue themselves and might be listening to this very podcast in an effort to try to become a quote unquote better parent because they think that they're doing a bad job because their kid won't eat zucchini or crashes after school or only wants to play on the tablet or one of these many
yeah,
things because they
yeah,
don't know. There is no book yet written, which we have to get around to, on how to raise a neurodivergent kid.
right, right.
Well,
But
and
I keep
the other
sorry,
thing
go ahead.
too that I
Mhm.
just wanted to jump in and add is, one of the things that Matt and I have talked about in previous episodes, and we will continue to talk about, is the concept of developmental trauma coming from, um, you know, these severely misattuned attachment systems, right?
Yeah.
That ultimately results in neglect or absence or other problems, sometimes also results in abuse,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? um
Well, when you grow
and
up with parents who say, I don't like you, then you find a
Yeah,
partner who also says, oh, I don't like you either.
yeah,
And you're like, ah,
right,
yes,
and
this feels
then
normal.
and this
right,
is a pattern that repeats unless it gets
correct.
the appropriate therapy help,
Yeah.
which is difficult work, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
living in an autistic body is already difficult work.
Mhm.
Doing that while also trying to heal developmental trauma is that much
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
what you're saying, Maisie, I think is absolutely right on. That
My
this
my
is such a
mom
problem.
was holding the fort for the three of us because she had three autistic people, you know,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
family. My dad and my brother were the PDA type,
Oh,
explosive.
okay.
So it was like whack-a-mole every day.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I was the quiet one. I was the one who was sitting in the playpen, stacking. So I hear
Ah,
those stories from people who knew me. Oh, you were such a good baby. You just didn't make any sound. You just play quietly with stuff by yourself for hours and hours. So
t-
you were such
Mm-hmm.
an easy baby,
oh, let's take a moment because we must follow that tangent because tell us
Yes.
about equating good and easy with not having needs because
right.
oh my god,
Yeah.
that's an interesting topic that we cover a lot in therapy with many people. Tell us all about that, please.
Mm-hmm.
Well, autistic girls and women, the autism represents very differently. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a strong desire to be part of the, our, to be part of the social. groups in school.
Yeah, you're taught from
So
birth that that's like your role. You need to be the social
I
person, the homemaker,
I
the
wanted
fixer
to
of the things.
be, yeah, I was very curious about just connecting with other people. But I was also the type, I was smart. I was smart because I knew exactly who to hide behind.
Ah, oh, tell us.
I
Go
love
there,
that,
go there. Tell us more.
actually.
Yeah.
So I have my best friend Becky. She was born to be a star. I think she's an ADHDer, but she was the
Ha!
one who was very witty, very quick. She was born to be in the spotlight. She's a celebrity. She still lives in Jakarta, Indonesia, and every time we get together, I still hide behind her because I mean, she's a public figure, so I'll just let her do her thing, and I'll just stand there quietly. So I was looking for people to emulate. So I didn't know how to be myself. Um,
As
I
is the way.
would, I would every time I come home from school, I would practice in front of the mirror. Like I would go through my day and just practice in front of the mirror. I would have the same like made up character that I talk to. Like I will have the same after school activity every day that character was part of it every
You
day. It
you,
may
you had
have
a
little
recap
change here and
podcast.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Today at
it.
school we covered this. And
Yeah.
yeah, like man, we're
Yeah.
autism the autism here. Okay, so
Right, right. Yeah, but I mean, I talked to Becky as part of my um diagnostic process, and she would say, yeah, you were in the bathroom a lot, you played with your hair a lot. I'm like, yeah, okay. Now I remember. you know so but anyways, my mom and I used to talk. My mom used to say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. Your dad was fine 5 minutes ago, and now I know it was called a meltdown.
ah,
It was
Right.
a sensory meltdown, like
that
every evening,
happens.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And dinner time could be very uncomfortable because we were not allowed to talk because anything we say or any sound we make would set my dad off. Like he would just go
Yeah.
from 0 to 100, right? So there were a lot of that. And my brother and my dad actually, they have very similar expressions. And however, my mom did such a fantastic job with us because she just really nurtured our interests. So my brother was one of these kids who never left the house, our home, without two cars, one in each hand. Like that was his comfort items, right?
Mm.
So
I love
my
it.
my parents just nurture that, and he's living his best life. He runs a very successful auto detail company and rental company in Jakarta, Indonesia. My brother's family traveled to Europe for car conventions. My niece would ask a new friend, "What kind of car do you have? what kind of car do you like?" As a icebreaker. What kind of car do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have?
yeah, okay, yeah.
That's
Not
what
what
Why
they
day is
not?
the
would.
week, what is the weather. Tell me about your
Right.
automobile.
So that's
Hey, if it
it's
works.
funny,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is exactly why maybe I'm a little bit unique because I have uh I have an example that I think
Mm-hmm.
just for me, just kind of going with the flow. Uh, I kind of remember I'm never going to be like my mom, but
No.
I try to do my best to
Yeah.
regulate myself and do all that.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to parenting neurodivergent kids, even for autistic parents, it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking, right? I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
guys know this. I mean, people suck. Like in general, it just make me feel so angry at times because
Yeah.
of the way my clients are treated, the way how much harder my
Mm-hmm.
kids have to work, and the day that my daughter, my eldest, realized that she's she can't do as much as other, that she's different than her peers. It's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
You know.
the realization of limitations, whether it's
Yes.
stress, sensory stuff, meat body limitations.
Depression.
There's yes, yeah, all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It's
Chronic illness.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and when people say, "Ah, you're just not trying hard enough," like, come
Mm,
on, man, I'm
Right.
doing as hard as I can. I just can't.
Yeah.
I
right.
can't. Yeah, yeah. You can't. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't army
Right.
crawl up the steps. It's not virtue to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to circle back one quick moment because Macy, you talked about how these, like the way that you present is more consistent with how women in general present and are socialized. And I want to expand that a little bit because what I've seen in the research lately is that we're looking really at like two different like our internalized profile and an externalized profile, and it is sort of gender associated because of gender based training and socialization, but that there are people who are, you know, socialized male who have a more internalizing presentation. And there are people who are socialized female who have the more externalizing presentation, quote unquote, standard autistic, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, for our listeners who like the fact that I bring in the precision here, because apparently I'm somebody who is more precise than other people, I guess. Whatever. Um, whatever. I'm in little professor mode, I guess. The you know, the move away from linking presentation to gender is a really important one because we have so many people in our community who are um, who have their own experience of gender that is not necessarily a neurotypical set of quote unquote gender norm experiences, behaviors, etc.
Are you
So I
talking
just want to put that
autogender?
out there. Autogender, I'm talking about people who are agender entirely. I'm talking about people who are, anywhere in the gender universe, including off the gender universe map.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just want to kind of de-link gender from the presentation experience.
Because
So,
gender is a social construct and completely insane, especially that it varies from culture to culture internally.
also that.
But
True.
also, yeah, because again, we just passed Christmas where the
Mm-hmm.
gifts for men are entirely cologne, pocket knives, and things made of
Mm-hmm.
leather, and it's like well, like
I like
yeah,
things made of leather.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do
It's
too.
just that it's not that it's
Don't give me
bad,
cologne
but
though. No,
I
thank
like
you.
some Legos, please. Just give me some
Yeah,
Legos.
right.
It's
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think growing up in Asia, uh, like a long time ago, like in my time when I was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
there was definitely I was also gendered, right?
Yes.
So,
On top,
so
right?
so so tell us about that because we one of the things that we would like to aspire to on the Autistic Voice project, uh, voice validating our identity, culture, and experiences, is having representation from a lot of different perspectives here because
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
autism, and this is something that people might not know, Asia has autism.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people might not know that. So tell us how, especially from your perspective, because you do a lot of autistic representation and research in the Asian communities
Mm-hmm.
around
Mm-hmm.
both internationally and in the U.S. How
Mm-hmm.
what kind of stuff do you? I already know many of the answers myself, which is why I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to. I want you to say the things because you're the guest and you're the one that has the life experiences, but it's all exciting and I like to talk about it.
Well, just I hope that what I experience is no longer the experience of today's autistic or neurodivergent young people. But back then, when I was in elementary school, for example, girls didn't have to excel in many subjects. For example,
Were they just
uh,
naturally better?
I suck in math, but that was okay because I was the girl.
Were girls given calculators?
Girls can fail in certain subjects in school, and that's okay because the boys are supposed to be the ones who are
And
good in
that's a
certain.
setup for both of you, right? Both for everyone in the gender binary. First of all, boys and girls, but also, of course, for people who didn't fit in the gender binary. But like to be stuffed into those categories where, as a girl, you don't have to succeed, and the implication is, well, what you do kind of doesn't matter because that's not what you're here for, anyways. That's kind of the implication that I'm receiving. I could be wrong about that, and please correct me if I am. And then for the boys or the people who are pushed into the boy category to be like, okay, well, pressure's on, you better produce, right?
Yeah,
Like
boys,
that is
right.
horrible for everybody.
I know boys are supposed to be the more athletic ones, academically gifted, when girls we're supposed to fulfill the traditional roles where you need to learn. I went to Catholic, all girls Catholic school, and we had to learn how to sew, how to cook, how
Oh my.
to do all this. I like cooking, but they're extracurricular after school programs to help girls learn the traditional roles. I hope that has changed. That
Yeah.
today maybe the boys can also take those kind of after school programs if they want to. But I failed on my math in uh, classes, and if I got a C, and my parents would take me out to get an ice cream, so I was celebrated. As the effort was important to my parents because they did see the anxiety. Like every morning, like at 4 or 5 a.m., my eyes would just pop up, like pop open, like because I always had the feeling that I haven't done enough because I was
Ouch.
so behind. Because I had difficulties. I was a slow reader. My mom taught me how to read after school because I didn't learn to read in a traditional way that was taught at school. So I had difficulties, and my mom spent time with me after school. She also hired a tutor to help me with math, and I still barely got C's, so they really recognized that I put in so much effort, abnormally maybe. So then they just really celebrated whatever I could do, which was also very unique. Their parenting, uh, but
Which is a big thing for neurodivergent kids and their parents because
mm,
the dyscalculia and the dyslexia
mhm.
is very, very common for our people.
Right, right.
And it's
So
not a moral failing, I might add,
It
because a
is
lot of
not.
people think it
yeah.
is because you're like, yes, you just don't love God enough and therefore you can't read.
Yeah, that is really bad
There
logic.
is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I do presentations for aspiring therapists, I always say you will work with Asian families, and just remember that you don't understand them culturally. There's so many intersectionality,
There's
that
differences, you say? What
yeah,
are these
like
differences? Because you do a lot of work across many other. What other countries do you do work in, and how is it different? And why do they all love ABA? What is up with this?
well, but because ABA is the easy answer. If
It's
you
just
can
three
afford it,
letters.
if even in Asia, if you can afford it, ABA also fits. It's an easy in general. Parents in Asia if they can afford it, so the middle class, middle upper class, they love to outsource. They love to outsource. When you think about it in America, the moment that your kid get an autism diagnosis, everything is outsourced. So you no longer have quality time with your kids because you are reduced to be the driver. You're always driving around from to speech therapy, occupational therapy, like center-based therapy, whatever. So when you think about it, in the old days, the recommendation was 40-hour intensive therapy at home.
And that's a whole job for an adult.
Yes.
Correct. So you wonder, like, what kind of the quality of relationship, family relationship. I think that parents very quickly, because of what the diagnostic report says, and that list of recommendations, you immediately think, in order for me to be a good parent to this autistic kid, I have to make more money. I have to quit my job so I can drive around doing all this stuff. Otherwise, I'm a bad parent. So you neglect your own intuitiveness. I think that every parent has the ability and the wiring to parent an autistic kid or to parent your own kid. But because of the misinformation that the medical professionals, from the get-go, you learn how to not trust your gut instinct as a parent anymore.
Right.
And I think that's really, really sad.
Which is compounded if you are, in fact, an autistic parent yourself, and your entire life been told not to trust your gut instincts because you are somehow wrong. So now you have medical professionals saying, yes, you should definitely not trust yourself to raise your child who's just like you. We'll raise your child for you, and you're just morally failing.
Right. So if you work with Asian families, especially the mothers, I think they have a lot of just internal, like, shame and guilt. Because especially the in-laws live with them, in Vietnam, they're part of, you get married, you don't move out. You have a kid who's different, and that shame comes from people outside of your home, people at church, or, your community. You're constantly being labeled as a bad parent, constantly. So, that guilt and shame, and I think it's very challenging for therapists who are not, if they don't understand these different experiences, to be able to support parents and families of autistic people.
Because those family dynamics are very intense. They can be very overwhelming. I mean, granted, even with my ex-in-laws, the outlaws, they are they don't understand anything about autism, and they just want my son to be out there, quote unquote, hunting and fishing and getting into trouble like a real boy, as though he's Pinocchio or something. And it's trying to explain, no, we just work differently. We don't tolerate all that stuff, and that's the reason that Uncle Mike can't come to Christmas dinner, because then he'll start talking about the Jews. We don't want that here, and they just don't get that. So, yeah, it's family stuff. At least, from my perspective, is tough. But man, if you live with them, and if you've got this cultural component of
it's tough.
Oh my God.
It's there's no escape for you, because the way you parent or not parent a young person, it's almost like it's being controlled externally. Like you meet other people's expectations instead of instead of really nurturing their relationship. So if I'm asked all the time now by parents, like, so what do I have to do as a parent of an autistic child so that in the future my kid can get married and, like, have a job? And actually, I don't know, maybe I think the answer to that seems simplistic, but I think it's going back to the basic. It's like, really making sure your home is a safe haven for your autistic kid,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because people outside of your house, they're terrible.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. Yeah.
they not just other people saying bad things about your kid, but the way people look at your autistic kid,
Mhm.
and of course they feel it, that constant judgment. So I think the best thing we can do at home is to make sure we really nurture that interest, because that's how we regulate, how we nurture our soul, and just making sure that your kids know, if the world is unkind, you can always come home.
Ah.
That's all I want for my kids,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I work with young autistic people, like after 18, they leave the house and they don't want to come back. They would rather leave in the car doing DoorDash, even though they have a college degree. They don't want to come home because that relationship is beyond repair.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you don't want that. You don't want
No.
that. You know what I mean? Um, it's still not easy for me to regulate, because it's just not easy for an autistic person is juggling like 10 balls like all the
A lot.
time.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But that's what I try to do, is to pick a better time
Mhm.
to engage with my son, and like just the way my mom tried to do that with my brother and my dad.
And that's a big thing
So
about it, raising happy, healthy, autistic adults. Because if you don't have some safety and some security somewhere,
right,
then you're
Right.
eternally dysregulated.
right,
We have to have a
yes,
charging station. We have to have
hmm,
a nice, safe place. This
hmm,
is our embassy of Autistica right here, where we come
right,
and we
right,
sit and rearrange our clocks for
right,
8 hours at a time to self-regulate,
right,
because that's where the safety is. Because
yeah.
how can you possibly branch out into the world and become an autistic adult without that safety?
Hmm. Well, also at home is where we help our kids to learn about themselves.
Yeah.
And the best way for autistic kids to learn is through real world experiences, in a safe way. That's when you do your travel, when you snuggle, when you read books together, do these
Mhm.
kind of things. And this is where I think parents of autistic kids, if any of you guys are listening to this, like
I hope they are.
you
Seriously.
do yeah, you do what you can give in the moment, and it's okay if you don't have anything to give right now. So just having being able to model that, I can't do it right now, but
Mhm.
you will have like 100% of me later. That's
Mhm.
really, really important.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure many young people, especially the ones in Asia, they don't feel they will never come out and say I'm autistic just because of the culture, right?
What is
But
up with that? Talk, because again, Bob in Toledo does not understand Asian culture unless Bob is himself Vietnamese or something. But tell us about why that culture prevents someone from saying, "Hi, I'm autistic."
well, I think if you are openly autistic on social media, you may not, you will get discriminated at work, or you may not be able to live at home anymore,
How
because it's
come?
very common for Asian young people to continue to live at home. Your parents will be very, very upset with you if you come out and say I'm autistic. It's just not acceptable. Um, in many kinds of religion, you know, uh, in Asia.
Do they not
So
understand what the word means? Do they think that you're in a cult? What is up with
because
this?
just disability and neurodivergence in
Ah,
general,
ooh,
meaning that you maybe it's some people believe that it's sin being passed on from one generation to another. So if you're
Ouch.
being born imperfect,
Ah,
and it's due to your parents, faults and so on. There's just a lot of myths that has been passed on from one generation to another, and I think people constantly live in shame and
ah.
crisis, like with no end,
Well,
so I understand that. Look, so I mean, I no longer live in Asia, so I can't compare my experiences to there. So I learned that when as I got to know more, like 20 something autistic people, they're all hiding in discords,
Yeah.
which is fine. Discord can be a safe place, right?
mhm.
And that's the thing
Yeah.
about this shame, because again, like with ABA and the compliance based stuff, in order to
Right.
be invisible, to hide who you really are. And
Right.
this shame based sort of discrimination can be really crushing for families, for kids, for
Right.
everybody, because you
Mhm.
can't be your true self.
Yeah.
And that comes at a massive, massive cost.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the other thing too, I want to just name here is that the Western definitions of shame, like I am bad, um, as opposed to the Western definition of guilt, which is I did bad. This
Mhm.
is this is related, but not part of, or not the same thing as what you're talking about, Macy. You're
Mhm.
talking about cultural shame,
Mhm.
right? Where it's at least if I'm understanding you
Mhm.
correctly, where it's like who you are reflects on everyone who has contributed to your life,
Mhm.
and so if you are not, the perfect representation of who people think you should be, whoever defines that,
Mhm.
um, then
You're the black sheep.
you're the black sheep, and it reflects on everybody who's impacted you.
Right.
um and so it's not an individual thing, or it's not only an individual thing, it's also everything and everyone
Yeah.
around you. And I think
Yeah.
that's an important thing. Like this is something I'm more aware of now, because I've had several things in the last 3 months or
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
where I've had the sort of various versions of Asian cultural shame sort of come up for for me to notice that that's what's at play, not the typical sort of I am bad,
Mhm.
sort of Western toxic shame
Mhm.
definition. And so that's why I'm just highlighting it here, because it's, if you're a therapist and you're listening to this, which I hope you are, and I hope you are taking good notes and listening to Macy's brilliance. um, but if you're a therapist, especially if you're a white therapist, thinking about this not just from the the Western definition of shame is so important, and also a great opportunity to seek out consultation
Mm.
if you need it. And I bet, Macy, you could probably do that for people if they need it.
Oh.
No?
No.
Am I signing you up for things you don't do? I don't know. I know
No.
that there are therapists who do that, but
But there are therapists. But I was just gonna say that when parents in Asia say I can't or we can't, they probably don't know why that they can't,
hmm
because
hmm
that's, and I think that's uh it's an issue when you're a therapist working in a clinical setting, and you actually don't see the big picture or what goes on
hmm
in the client's home, because
hmm
it's Asian people are trained not to say
right,
many things. Like
right.
we just don't know, we just don't talk about it,
hmm
right? So I think everything goes back to building trust and relationship,
hmm
even in a therapeutic setting, because uh, it's very challenging to provide a safe connection when you're working with like Asian parents of autistic kids.
Which
Mhm.
requires what I might therefore label as a twice cultural competency competency on that, because not only are you
Yeah.
dealing with Asian culture, but you're also dealing with autistic Asian culture.
That's
And
true.
that is a very, very complex thing for a neurotypical white dude to try to understand. And there are many,
Mhm.
many people out there who just do not get that. So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
you have this unique perspective where you do get that, and that is very, very important.
It is.
Oh, thank you.
It's crucial.
But I wanted to point out something that I see in this room, in the three of us. I think all three of us have figured out a career path that works for us
An autism
somehow.
career pathway, as you might say. But go on.
Well,
I like how you keep doing that, Matt.
Yeah.
For those of you
This.
who don't know, Macy's website is Autism Career Pathways. That's
it's
why
our
Matt keeps saying
nonprofit.
that.
Yeah, it's an autistic led. I run two platforms, and the nonprofit is Autism Career Pathways. But
I don't want to derail. Please go ahead, Macy.
but what we try to do is support autistic people to build an interest-centered career. So
Yes.
that is my dream, is to connect autistic adults as role models to the younger generation. So that's my dream.
Because we
And
do need that. We've
Mhm.
we
been
do
talking
need
for a few
that.
weeks about how, like, black culture has black elders, gay culture has gay elders, but there are no autistic elders out there for us to learn from and for us to be
Well,
modeled.
let's
And
say few. Let's say few, because there are a few.
well, I mean, there's Temple Grandin.
I wasn't talking
God,
about Temple
yeah,
Grandin.
yeah. Who do we have? Who do we have?
Us
Well-
three here in the
Oh,
room.
well.
We're trying to do.
Oh my.
We're working hard.
We are working
Yeah,
very hard.
we
Yes.
count as elders,
Right.
Matt.
Oh my God. Ah, well, that explains my poor eyesight. But yes, hooray! We are the heroes. Yay!
Maybe I'm closer to that because I'm about to turn 50. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, we're all work in progress, right?
That's right.
So, like autistic or not, I just hope that, I don't know, maybe in the future the world will be a little bit better for neurodivergent people, which is
Yeah.
why we're doing this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I mean, did you have me talk about all the things you want me to talk about? I would be like, okay, there was something
I mean,
else I'm supposed to
I
talk
feel like we could
about.
probably do about 7 more episodes with you, Macy.
Yeah. Well, just due to time constraints, we'll have to cut it off for tonight. But would you be willing to come back and join us again in the future? Because
Of
yeah,
course,
we could talk about like 100 million more things, and
Seriously.
that's what Maisie and
Of
I
course,
have done
I'm
some
happy to do
trainings.
that.
We're working on some books. What other projects are you working on? Where can people find you and ask you lots of questions and things if you're down for that?
And where
Right.
can they financially support your work? Because that's important
Oh, that's
too.
also important.
Yes. That's
Oh,
a thing.
well, you can always donate to autismcareerpathways.org. And my other platform, our LLC, is called Guiding Extraordinary Minds, or GEM for short. So they're
Nice.
both autistic led
I do
platforms.
love a good acronym.
And so if you are autistic and you're living your best life according to your vision, and you want to share how you do that, get in touch with me. My email is macy@gemacademy.us. So you can contribute. We always do our best to pay people. Always.
Which is great.
We raise money to be able to pay autistic people to donate 30 minutes and show us what your life is like. Not just doing it in this format, but just do a walkthrough of your workshop, for example. Because
I do love a good workshop.
Right.
Yeah,
or something great.
having a
Yeah.
good system and a way of making things, it makes
Yeah.
my heart all nice, warm, and fluttery.
Yeah,
Because
autistic people make beautiful things.
yes,
No one knows our story, and I think it's going to be very impactful if we can show people how to do that, right?
yeah, especially
Mhm.
having this database of people doing autistic things in autistic ways. That's
Yeah,
really
Right.
cool because
yeah,
we
Right.
don't get to go out and go to Walmart and say, "Hey, you want to see this bird I made?" Like, no,
Hmm.
neurotypicals don't do that. But yes, I would love to see that bird you made. Please show me.
yes,
It's
exactly.
it's
Send me
fantastic.
pictures. Send me pictures. Send me like a short video, and I'll put it together. So I think it's important for the world to see that. So hopefully,
Nice.
the platforms that we all have, including your podcast, it will someday will help a lot of people. That's the dream.
Here's hoping.
That's right.
As an autistic elder, I really hope that we're making a difference out there.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
but we'll have you
Yeah.
back. And everybody go check out Maisie's work. We'll be in more contact about the book because we need to get that going. And we will see you next week on another new episode of the Autistic Voice Project. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you.
Bye.